Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen at KetosisMom, and we have a lot to cover today. I am again a little bit behind. I got back from vacation. Now I need to catch you guys up on the last 2 weeks of what's been going on in my Zepbound journey. For today's agenda, we're going to be going over my week 33 as well as my week 34. I'll go over my results, show you all my 7.5 injection yet again for this week, again on Zepbound. I'm also going to be going over GLP-1s, specifically Tirzepatide and Eli Lilly in the news. There's so much going on right now. I'm sure that you guys have already seen a lot of this happening and a lot of what's going on, and you're going to have a lot to say down in the comments, so I can't wait. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, first up, I'm going to go over my week results from both when I was on vacation and I didn't have a scale, as well as now. I have a couple of different updates. We're going to get this out of the way so then we can get into the news for everybody. I am currently only 1 pound down from when I last gave you guys a weigh-in. So that is over a 2-week period. So I'm just going to log that as a 0.5 pound lost for 2 weeks in a row. What is really great about that for me though is that I did take a Cosentyx injection during that time frame. I also had food poisoning while I was on vacation, and so I was not eating like I should be eating. I was not eating high protein. As a matter of fact, I really wasn't eating at all. And so for me, what I've really noticed, and I stick with this, if I'm not eating appropriately and I'm not eating high protein along with those 4 servings of fruit and veggies a day and getting plenty of water, I'm not really losing weight. So when I did come home from the vacation, I want to say I was like maybe 0.3 pounds down. And so really the rest of what I've lost, let's just call it 0.7 between now and then, was really just this past week, which was my week 34, right? 33, and then this week is 34. I've been on this a long time now. Overall, I will also put up what my total weight loss is right here. I'm still tracking the subcutaneous fat, the visceral fat, my muscle mass, my water, my protein, my bone mass, my fat-free body weight, and things like that. And I do get a lot of questions from everyone about why I'm not putting up my actual weight on here, and I'm only telling you how much weight I've lost. And just to kind of put it into perspective with you all, I started out needing to lose well over 100 pounds. Okay, so I don't really find the hey, I weighed this much and now I weigh this much to be as beneficial as just basically sharing on a weekly basis that I am still losing. This is how much I lost. This is where my side effects are or aren't. And knock on wood, my big old wood table right here, I've not had any side effects whatsoever in multiple weeks. However, I am going to tell you all that while I was on vacation, and maybe this is how you are too, when I'm on vacation, I always have had my entire life a hard time having bowel movements, right? It's like the process of traveling and flying and being in a new place and being stressed out. And I really was struggling while I was on vacation. I had to reach out to my GI office and just say, hey, I'm really, really, really having a hard time. Here's what's going on. Here's what it's looking like. Here's how long it's been. And they let me know, and this came from my GI office, and I'll put the message up right over here, that the Linzess that I've been taking has been recently known to cause additional constipation issues and concerns with patients. So they've now put me on a new medicine that I'm trialing over probably the next 2 weeks before they decide to switch me over to it. I believe it's called Ibsrela or Isbrella. I have no idea how to pronounce it. I did look into some of the side effects, which of course is additional gas, stomach distension, which we all know that I already have anyway. And so I'm watching for those things, and I'm going to try this out and see if this one works better than the Linzess or not. But I'm no longer on Linzess at this point in time. And so I did want to share that with you all because I know that that's something that you know is in kind of my journey that I've been doing. Now, my constipation is not caused by Tirzepatide, by Zepbound in any way, shape, or form. I have had constipation basically since I've had children. That's been like a thing for me. I've gone through all kinds of testing for it. I did a whole video on different ways that I deal with constipation, because that's also a known adverse side effect of these medicines. So that's where I'm at on this. I'm still a pound down. I'm still happy with where I'm at. I'm still feeling great. It's really, really great to be able to take my Cosentyx that helps with my autoimmune disease, as well as being able to take this Zepbound that is also known or being studied for inflammation as well. I have been feeling absolutely wonderful lately, aside from my food poisoning on vacation. And so that's where I'm at. And now it's time for In the News. This week has been pretty controversial all around. There's a lot of people on all kinds of social media and forums like fighting and arguing back with each other and thinking that they're having these like big wins with these lawsuits being filed. And in reality, I think everyone's going to be even more disappointed when these lawsuits that are being filed are never actually turned into an official like court hearing or court case or even heard, because we have people and different entities within the state of Texas currently that are suing, and they filed an order or a motion or whatever it's called to sue the FDA. They are suing the FDA. Basically, when you read through their filing, first of all, I want to say I question the filing legitimacy in general, just because as you're reading through it, it almost sounds like it was filed by someone who's like maybe still in law school or doesn't use spell check or I don't know. There's a lot of different parts of it that you think to yourself, is this real? Like, are they really complaining about this? For instance, everyone knows, right, that you can compound a drug as long as it appears on the FDA shortage list. We've done lots and lots of talks about the whole 503A and 503B guidelines. The guidelines clearly state what your rules and regulations are. A lot of these pharmacies that have been compounding semaglutide and tirzepatide are in no way, shape, or form following the 503A guidelines whatsoever. For instance, you're only supposed to be compounding on a per order or per prescription basis, not mass producing a certain product that then goes out to orders that come in, right? It's not a push system. It should be a pull system, to kind of break that down a little easier for everybody to kind of understand what I mean. You additionally are not allowed to send more than 5% of your orders that come into your compounding facility outside of your state. Raise your hand and comment down below if you think that the compounders have only been sending out 5% of their orders outside of their own state, or if you think that they were even making product on a per order basis. Okay, they've not been following their own guidelines set forth by their own states with the FDA, and they know that. Everyone knows that. This has been like a huge cash grab that they all saw was an opportunity for them to take. In this facility in Texas, in this filing, it says that they have hired additional headcount, additional HR people. They've bought additional manufacturing equipment and started additional manufacturing lines and stocked up on all of their equipment and all of their API ingredients that they need to be able to mix these up to mass produce this drug to get it sent out, and that a lot of money and time and energy has gone into that for the FDA to just the next day or whatever day they choose, it was like October 2nd, I believe, to say, okay, it's off the shortage list. If you continue to produce it, it is now illegal. It is now against the law to continue to produce this without any kind of warning, correct? And there really shouldn't need to be a warning that you can no longer do this, or you can no longer produce this, or you need to stop what you're doing. You also should not be ramping up and doing a mass production of anything like that in a 503A facility. 503B, maybe, if you are mass producing something that is going to be known to be on the shortage list for a very long time, and the FDA has told you that. However, this was basically like, we're going to mass produce this against the guidelines that were already set forth, and we know that we're not going to be able to do it for very long, so we're going to try and do it as fast as we can and make as much money as we can, and then we're going to turn around and just try to sue the FDA so that we can keep doing it to keep making money. That's not how this works. If you guys think about it a little bit differently, and I know that if you've been taking compounds, you are going to hate what I'm saying right now, but if you really think about this, okay, let's say, I don't know, let's call it Farm B, okay? Farm B is a pharmaceutical company. They're a manufacturing company. They're FDA regulated. Let's say they come out with a new drug and they just decide they're going to go mass produce it and market it to the public without the FDA's approval, without the FDA's regulation, without the FDA saying, okay, you can send this out as a drug to the American public. That's not going to happen ever. You have to pass so many checks and balances to have an approved, regulated drug that is for human consumption and human use. I mean, it takes years to be able to do this. And in essence, these pharmacies are saying, we're creating a drug because we're now going to go add in some L-carnitine or some niacinamide or some B12 or some glycine, and it's a new drug because we added those things, and then now we can compound it and send it out to people. There is nothing here in the United States that is going to support that pathway of making a new drug by adding additional junk to it in a pharmacy setting that is not regulated, it is not quality tested, it does not show sterility testing on the majority of what they're making. Some of it, they do sterility in samples. They don't test the sterility of every single item. They test sterility of like a random piece of it. There's also no stability studies that shows how long is this good for, which brings me to what I said last week. All of these companies are also offering this mass buyout to the public. Like, hey, if you want to now buy 6 months in advance, we're going to sell it to you. There is nothing anywhere, there is no testing anywhere that is going to show the American people, the FDA, the state pharmacy board, no one, how long those drugs are stable for in the mixed state that they have become. You might have a stability report on the powder peptide that's being used prior to it being mixed with other components and sent out as a new medicine. However, the actual medicine, there's nothing telling you how long that is stable for and how long it is good for. And if they're adding other like preservatives into it, which is what I've seen other creators trying to claim that, oh, they're adding this preservative into it now so that it lasts longer. I promise you, there is no pathway in the United States to have something like that checkmarked and approved by the FDA, or realistically, even the state board pharmacy license committee, that they're just going to say, okay, yeah, you want to mix all that stuff together and send it out for people to use? Looks good. Let's mass market it and let's mass produce it and make all that money. I'm telling you guys, it's not going to happen. At most, the FDA is going to respond to this and say, you know what? If you want to keep going against what we're doing, we're shutting you down. You're not going to make anything anymore. You're not going to be a company anymore. You're done. That is how this works. Then the FDA is going to go in, they're going to make the state go in with them, and they're going to shut down the whole facility. And it's not the first time that that has happened. I posted over on this blog post at the very top, the show called The Doctors went over this years ago about how there were these pharmacies that needed to be shut down within the states. The FDA was having to go in, all the different things that they were having to do to shut these places down. This is not a battle that any pharmacy is going to want to take on, because you're basically battling to continue to make something illegally, market it illegally. You're going to have lawsuits filed from the biggest pharmaceutical company making the most money right now on you. You're going to have the FDA down your neck telling you you're done, you're not producing anything anymore, you're no longer a business, period. Or you can choose to accept it because you knew from the beginning this was not something that you were going to continuously be able to do and make money forever on. It was a very short-lived thing. And at most, you can wait to see if maybe it does go back on the shortage list when everyone who is on compound starts trying to then also obtain the medicine. And then the stock is not there to fill the demand. However, going into a battle like that, there is no compounding pharmacy that makes the amount of money that our federal government has behind them or that Eli Lilly has behind them. It is a losing battle that you're going to spend way too much money on, and you need to just tuck your tail and move on. Now, a lot of these places are trying to do this mixture of additional things. And I want to read something to you all that rang so incredibly true. It said that inventing a new unregulated drug to mass produce that is unapproved to evade the law by creating a compound mixed with other ingredients, that's not how our system works. It's very true. And again, there's a 0% pathway of mass marketing something that is unapproved like this. There's also a 0% pathway of marketing something as a patented name by a pharmaceutical company and an owned API ingredient by a pharmaceutical company as a compound in the United States. The other issue that we're having behind this is this company is saying that it is unlawful and unconstitutional for the FDA to just make this decision that the drug is no longer in shortage and remove it from the list. Basically, so that one day you're making it lawfully and then the very next day you're making it unlawfully. However, when you read the 503A and 503B guidelines for compounding, and if you have a compounding license, you should understand that that is the case. That is how this goes. Everyone knows it up front before they even start doing it. And if you don't want to deal with it, then don't compound the drugs. Only compound drugs as they're supposed to be compound, which is, for instance, if there were, let's say that the Eli Lilly version had B vitamins in it for some reason, right? I'm allergic to B vitamins. A true compounded drug should then be, for me as a patient who's allergic to B vitamins, to have a compounded version without the B vitamins in it so that I can still get the benefits of the API ingredients. Okay, that is how compounding is actually supposed to work in the United States. However, you have all of these companies who are like, this is a GLP-1 gold rush of who can make the most money off of Americans as fast as possible and in whatever shape way that they can. You additionally have a lot of people who are now running ads on all of social media, even on Reddit as well, for the peptides, for people to just buy peptides on their own that are research grade peptides, meaning they are not for human consumption use. It's typically for research within a university on animals, like on rats, for instance, that is not approved or regulated use, and you really don't know what you're getting in them. Speaking of which, I know a lot of people have kind of like come at me in the past week because I said, hey, all these compounders that are now offering you a semaglutide instead of a tirzepatide, you really need to sit back and think to yourself, do I really want to switch to a semaglutide? Because Novo Nordisk is a giant company as well. They've already seen what Eli Lilly has done and the steps that they took to remove themselves from the FDA shortage list. If anyone here thinks that Novo Nordisk is not smart enough and that their legal teams and that their regulatory teams are not smart enough to say, hey, we need to go do that too so we can get off of that shortage list and then we can make all the compounders stop making ours as well so our stock price goes up. I'm sorry to burst your bubbles. This is not conjecture. This is common sense. It is just common sense to realize that if that bird flies that way and gets away from its predator and that bird flies this way and keeps getting eaten, that the bird back here is also going to fly that way. Okay? They're not going to continue the insanity of going over here and just keep getting eaten. They're going that way. This is like a follow the leader moment. Like once you see something works for someone else, you go. They're going to ride those coattails as long as they can so that they get the same result in the end. So eventually you're going to have these compounders trying to add so many different things, like who even knows what, to these compounds to try to still be allowed to make them because it's not an exact copy. You guys, that is just insanity. It's absolute insanity. Oh, we added L-carnitine and B12 to ours. It is no longer the same, but we're still calling it tirzepatide or semaglutide on our website so that everybody knows what it is. This is the biggest legal battles coming up, and I'm so excited for them, but these people are going to crash and burn. They may not even have a business anymore at the end of it. This is also something that based on the hearings with Novo Nordisk, there's a lot of people in government and there's a lot of senators that basically just want to completely take over drug access in the United States, and they're the only ones who get to decide who gets things in general. And I promise y'all that is not the way that we want to go either. Just think about how difficult it is to get things through insurance. It would be even harder to get it through the government, and you would have to just jump through every hoop that you've ever seen just trying to get something. I really feel like coming soon, for a little bit of ray of a sunshine for you guys looking for that silver lining. I really do think that soon the prices are going to be even lower than they are for the name brand. And here's what I find so interesting about this. I told my husband, if Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly just said, hey, you guys are paying $129 a month for your compound, we'll give you ours for $129 a month. I guarantee you, everyone would shut their mouth, shut their bitch, and go get the brand name and not say another damn word about a compounder or even want a compound in general. And that is what is so annoying about this, because you guys are fighting for something just because you don't want to have to go pay for it over here, or you can't pay for it over here, and because of what they're charging right now. And while I do understand that in some semblance, there's also this reality that people can actually afford it and can actually pay for it. It's just they don't want to because they can get it cheaper over here. So because they can get it cheaper over here, they don't care if it's sterile. They don't care if there's impurities in it. They don't care if there's metals in it. They don't care that it's not really the strength that they were supposed to get because they're getting it for $200 less. And to me, something that you're injecting into your body that affects that many organs of your entire body is just absolute insanity that you would risk that for $200. And for everyone that's on here right now that's going to say that I'm just talking out my behind and I don't know what I'm talking about, there is a published, yes, published, whole peer review from Novo Nordisk where they tested 26 different samples of compounded semaglutide where they found multiple impurities, that it was not the strength that it was supposed to be. Some of them were not sterile whatsoever. They had multiple different types of metals found in them. I'm going to link it down below in my comments, and you really need to go look at it because this is not just like, oh, hey, we found this. Novo Nordisk is building their own case against why compounders should not be allowed to compound their medicines. And if you think that they're not, then I'm sorry about you. I'm going to touch briefly on some other things in the news regarding like hims and hers. So it's not just the compounding facility in Texas that's like trying to like make a big stink about this. It is additionally the hims and hers program because they just started up like offering a compounded tirzepatide to their patients that now is unattainable to them, which is basically every platform that's out there. They're all saying and petitioning saying, hey, we still want to be able to offer these things. And of course they do. Everybody wants to make money. There's no one that's going to be like, oh no, that's okay. I was making millions of dollars a month on this. That's okay. They're not, that's not going to happen. Weight Watchers Clinic is, quite behind on this gold rush. However, with their CEO being ousted in the last week, now they're turning around and also offering compounded semaglutide to their patients. And I really feel like this is like a last second cash grab, which is what one of you guys said in the comments over on the community. It's like this last second cash grab of like, oh, let's hurry up and try and like get these people back that left because we weren't giving them compounds before. We'll get them to sign up again. We'll get the platform fee from them. They'll be on a compound semaglutide, and then maybe we can figure out a different way as we move forward to try to retain them, even when compounded semaglutide also goes away. And here's the thing. David Ricks is the CEO of Eli Lilly, and he has like publicly said, like, yeah, I'm not really worried about all these people and everybody who's trying to like just now enter this weight loss category and just now trying to do the clinical trials and studies behind all this. Like, for instance, Mango RX or Mango Ceuticals has come forth and said, hey, we're now going to be offering a pill version of tirzepatide and a pill version of this semaglutide. I mean, realistically, like by calling it someone else's like name like that, you're already kind of setting yourself up for failure, especially when you see that Eli Lilly is like not taking this lightly. And let me tell you guys, if I was the lead counsel at Eli Lilly, I would be doing exactly what they're doing right now because that is how they are going to like make a name for themselves by shutting all of this down, having all of the legal system behind them, having the FDA behind them, getting the states to look at their own guidelines and say, yeah, sorry, they weren't following that. There is nothing that Eli Lilly legal team has to lose, and they have everything to gain. And for people to not realize that is like super just baffling to me. But David Ricks himself said, I am like not fazed by all these other people trying to come out with whatever it is they're coming out with, because we're unparalleled right now. And when you look at their chart of where Eli Lilly sits with their tirzepatide on their own weight loss outcome and their own like patient results with what tirzepatide is doing for them and the multiple uses for tirzepatide, they are so ahead of the game. They also have their pill version of Wegovy that is coming out and being approved. So then they can say, oh, hey, by the way, Novo Nordisk, we're going to take your patients over here for our pill version that we've created of your injectable medicine. And we have retatrutide coming out next year. They are like a stacked house at this point in time, and that's why they can invest so much more money into their research facilities, so much more money into their manufacturing facilities. They are buying genomics, AI companies, RNA companies, because they are setting themselves up for the ultimate success in the United States. Like, they basically run the entire city that's up above me. Like, Indianapolis is Eli Lilly. It just is. They are going to be a massive, massive company, especially when it comes to additional research on other diseases. They are building a first of its kind foundry that they're putting $4.5 billion in up in Indianapolis. That is basically, once a drug is in clinical trials, so research state still, how to figure out how to ramp up quickly and do a mass production of that within manufacturing, all within the same area. I just feel like Eli Lilly is doing the right things. They're putting money into research where they should be. They're keeping insulin costs low. They're trying to lower their price and be able to give their drugs directly out to the patient to try to aid in the cost. I do think their price should be lower than it is. Yes. Right now, that $3.99 and $5.49, I am still kind of like, yeah, you need to like half that again, probably. I think the government's probably also going to come back and tell them, like, yeah, you're going to have to half that again, because they're asking Novo Nordisk to get theirs down towards 100. I do think that that's coming. So that, like, silver lining, it is coming. It's just, when is it going to come? And if there's all these legal battles going on and there's all this back and forth going on, that's basically just putting this giant shadow over the fact that the American public and patients need these drugs. They need them now. They need them at a cost that works for them. PBMs need to just go be thrown into the hurricane, I guess. I mean, at this point, they just need to go. There needs to be an answer, and there needs to be something that is a little more realistic and safe. I myself am really looking at a lot of the things that these drugs are trying to be compounded with now, and different things that they're throwing in with it, trying to say, like, oh, it's not an exact copy, it has this in it now. And no one has really studied in the past if niacinamide or glycine or L-carnitine in a weekly dosage of whatever amount they're putting in to their compounds has any type of effect on people. And if people are also just taking peptides and mixing it up and injecting themselves in it, like, are we headed the same direction as what happened in Australia, where we're going to suddenly have patients like presenting at ER centers and they're having all of these complications with their GLP-1 medications, which are actually compounded medicines. I know previously I said that ERs and poison control was quoting a 1,500%, not like 100%, 1,500% increase in poison control issues around GLP-1s. Personally, I feel like that has a lot to do with these compounded medicines. And I've said from the beginning that I just want you guys to know what it is you're taking, where is it from, are they following guidelines, are they regulated, do they do sterility and quality testing? And realistically, I reached out to Weight Watchers Clinic and said, hey, could you please tell me which 503B facility you're going to be filling from? Because they're doing that same shady crap where these platforms don't tell you where it's coming from or where it's being sourced from, and then it's just showing up at your door. And I personally feel like if you're really doing things on the up and up and you're really doing things how they should be doing it, and it's legal and you're following guidelines, you should have zero problem with publicly displaying where the drug is coming from. And I've already seen all of these other videos that people have sent me and these other posts that people have made about like how excited everybody is that they're finally going to file these filings to go after the FDA for taking this off of the shortage list so that they can't get it anymore. And the reality of this is the majority of people, if you had a prescription for Zepbound or Mounjaro at this point in time and you were to go to the pharmacy to try to fill it, they're going to fill it for you. And that means the drug is not in shortage. And even if it takes them 5 days to get it in, it's still not considered in shortage. And until everyone who was on compounds basically is trying to go and fill the vial, cash pay vial, or the actual drug to show that they can't get it, it's not going to be in shortage. And I would also like to everyone to kind of like look at something and look at a query of how many times the head of the FDA has been removed from being the head of the FDA for making a decision like this. And for everyone to be super excited about this and thinking that it's going to like result in like compounds coming back full force and being allowed here, it's quite honestly likely going to be the exact opposite. It's likely going to be that they're going to say, you know what, if we can't control these states and we can't control these pharmacies from following the law around offering drugs to the public, then you're going to get shut down and there's going to be no compounding of any kind whatsoever. And that is what has happened in Australia. And that is where this is going to head ultimately. Because the FDA is going to start looking into more of all the hospital records of people who've been presenting with issues that have also been on a compounded medicine or just a GLP-1 in general, because they're not going to want to dig that far down into it. Compare that rate that patients are presenting with issues compared to all of these findings that the companies are obtaining these compounds, testing the impurities in them, showing that they're not pure, showing that they're not sterile, showing that there's metals in there, compared to those hospital reports. And they're going to say, hey, this is a danger to the American people. It's done. That's exactly what they did in Australia. The bird follows the bird. Okay, the bird follows the bird that came out and is doing okay. The bird does not follow the bird that just got ate. Okay, I've probably made enough people angry today, and I'm sure I'm going to have all kinds of fun comments down in the bottom below about how I'm fear-mongering people. No, I'm just telling you guys that you need to educate yourself on how things actually work here in the United States, and basically come to an acceptance of it and try to figure out a different method of treatment for yourself. I do understand the implications that this could mean for many patients who have been on the drug, that now they're coming off of the drug. As many of you know, whether it's semaglutide or tirzepatide, that coming off of this drug could mean a increase in your weight again. And I've said from the very beginning that everyone here should be practicing healthy habits of eating things that you should be eating in correct portions, working out, attempting to build muscle throughout this entire process. And my best advice for everyone here is, if you are in like this limbo with your medicine at this time, you should at least be continuing to work out and continuing to live a healthier lifestyle throughout this period where you're sort of in limbo and not really sure what to do. Discuss with your doctors what your options are, what different treatments may be. There's going to be multiple multiple different FDA regulated treatments coming up in the next year. And realistically, we need our government to lock down these PBMs and force them to allow the American people to obtain the FDA regulated drugs at a reasonable price for the public, regardless of what all of these insurance companies and PBMs start trying to make people jump through these hoops. I had someone in my community the other day say that now, instead of having to see an in-person provider, they are forcing her to see a virtual provider of their choosing, which is just another way for the PBMs to try to control how many people and who can have this drug by making you see one of their own paid virtual providers instead of another physician or another provider who may write it for you. And that is just absolute insanity to try to give a PBM and an insurance company that kind of control over the American people. I really feel like people's anger is so hyper focused on not getting their compound when it should be super hyper focused on the PBMs and the insurance companies who are denying them access to a drug that is regulated for human use that you're unable to obtain for $0 to $25 via your insurance that you have. Whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, whoever it happens to be. If there's coupons and savings out there for $25, then why are you not getting it for $25? $25 is a whole hell of a lot better than $129 to $400 for a compound. And that's my opinion. Take it or leave it, y'all. All right, everybody, because I've made everybody probably so angry today, and you guys are going to go over to all other kinds of creators to complain about me as usual. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. I will see you guys next week. I am still remaining on the 7.5 milligram at this time. I am due for another Cosentyx injection. I believe it's either next week or like a week and a half, something like that. So I did lose, I believe it was like just a little over 5 pounds for the month of September. And then I will track October as well and let you guys know how much I lost in the month of October. But so far, knock on wood, doing good, doing great, loving my Zepbound. Thank you, Eli Lilly. Bye, y'all.